Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Excellent. So, as entrepreneurs, you had a particular problem in mind or a set of problems in mind, and you also had a set of solutions in mind, and you hoped that over the 3 days you will be able to improve your solution. Are you all making progress in that journey? All the teams here, are you making progress in the journey that you wanted to make? Hands up. How many of you are making progress? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The other half, where I don't see the hands lifted, what challenges are you still facing? I didn't see any hands go up on this side. You didn't have a problem to solve? All right. We will go into understanding a little more on the ideation, innovation, and the ecosystem that will help innovations thrive. Early in the morning, Kaustubh in the morning talk said that while there is a lot of money in Mumbai, Bangalore takes the cake in terms of innovation. And that is true, and there are some reasons why that happens. It's important that events like this become more and more popular. When events like this become more and more popular, you have interdisciplinary view of things, and you might be able to solve problems much better. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of collaboration and trust, right? So trust is essential for things to evolve in the best possible speed. If there is lack of trust, then we will make progress much slower than possible. And trust building is not an automatic process. You can't wish to have a better trusting society. It has to be a lot of meticulous exercise done by all stakeholders to improve each other's well-being. So we'll talk about how we can look at it. But because we are solving for Kumbh Mela, I just thought we will look at some interesting background about how to look at Kumbh, right? Kumbh Mela, as you know, happens every 3 years between the cities of Haridwar, Ujjain, Nasik and Prayagraj. And we also have the Mahakumbh and the Ardh Kumbh that happens. Way back in 1882, somebody looked at what is the economics of the Kumbh Mela. And their finding was that the cost of the event was 20,000 rupees. The revenue generated was 49,000 rupees and the profit made was 29,000 rupees. So historically, it's not just a religious event, it's also a major economic event, right? And what's happening now? So as we are speaking, the Prayagraj Kumbh is happening. And one of the advisors said, the worth of this financial activity could be an underestimate of the actual figure. If one pilgrim spends 8,000 rupees, then we are actually talking about 3.2 lakh crores happening at the Prayagraj Kumbh Mela, right? So it's very important that you think about a whole gamut of things and not just get caught up with AI or technology. Your AI and technology have to go through the dimensional AI as Professor Ramesh said in the morning. How can you look at all this 3.2 lakh crore or equivalent of that will happen in Nasik by 2027 and see what different economic actors you will be able to assist with. So big problem needs big solutions, right? So what are the preparations happening? The 20,000 rupees has today become 11,000 crores infrastructural plan for the Nashik Kumbh that's going to happen. The infra is being redone to the extent of 350 kilometers, right? Massive investment is going on that. So you need to figure out what are the other places in which you can make progress. This morning there was a post saying that looks like there's a big accident and then there's a huge traffic jam. Here we are all talking about crowd management, extremely smart AI solutions, etc. But nobody got an alert telling that some such big disruption is going to happen for us and it's going to have an impact on us. just in terms of hosting the sadhus, a 700-acre settlement is being created, right? So a whole lot of activities is being done by the government already. In case you already don't have a problem to solve, just pick up any of these problems and see how you can make this 11,000 crores be spent better. That is a good set of problem statements for you to have. I was glad that Aviral, Nirmal, Godavari team spoke about, they're having 200 problems that you can solve, right? Here is 11,000 crore budget that you can be trying to work on making it more efficient and impactful. So big problems also need collaborative solutions. I want each one of you to go back to your problem statement and your solution statements and see, is there a scope for a public-private partnership kind of a solution? How many of you here are familiar with Akshay Patra? Okay, few hands there. Can you tell what Akshay Patra is and why is it important? The midday meal scheme program, right? So I also know there are public policy enthusiasts in the room. So why is Akshay Patra important in the public policy angle, sir? Yeah. So it's a truly interdisciplinary solution. There's a taxation system, there's education system, there's healthcare system, and all of them are coming together to create multiple benefits around that, right? So thank you. Anything else you would like to add from the Akshay Patra solution? Scale, right? They are able to scale at a humongous thing, and you will see that in the next slide. There was an article I wrote on them looking at their entire practices. Now they have even gone much further on that, right? What's also important is how they were involved in, from the original definition of what the policy could be, and today how they are part of the midday meal scheme overall monitoring across the nation and trying to set standards continually, right? Keep that in mind that sometimes you may not be able to serve the entire 30 million population who will be coming for the Nasik Kumbh. But if you can really figure out that there is a protocol that you can define and make multiple actors collaborate around that, that itself is a huge solution for your problem. Zerodha, which is quite popular today, it's doing a lot of activity along with Government of India to figure out the financial literacy deficit and how it can be bridged. There is even a Zerodha University where you can learn more about the financial literacy concepts. And Palantir works with the government of the US government on various data analytics and what can be done around that. So as a startup, you also should have a PPP in mind of telling that what is it that I can assist with and what is it that we would want the government to take more seriously with. So this was an article I co-wrote in 2020 Jan, and what we found is that the scale at which they operate, right? At that point of time, they were feeding 17 lakh kids every day. The scale is enabled by a whole lot of amazing technology that happens beneath. That technology tracks the pressure at which the food is packed into the boxes, the temperature at which it is put into the steel utensils, the routing, the GPS, a whole lot of systems fall into place. So you also need to think of your technology doing multiple things rather than just say that it will only do this thing and it will solve a big problem. It can't. Your technology has to be a lot more all-encompassing. And regulation will play a huge role. The government will have a certain way of doing it. If you want the government to relook at it in a very, very different manner, it's not going to happen with one letter, one conversation, or one phone call. It has to be a lot of very engaged activity where you will be able to impress upon them a methodology in which the ground rules can be set for Kumbh Mela differently this time than how it was being done earlier, right? If there was a vacuum, then it's a good place for you to start by iterating this. There are various examples how various acting players, leading players today have worked with governments to define a good roadmap to play with. So why are we talking about all of these things? We are talking about this because a platform has been created for all of us to come together 2 years in advance to say 2027 mein Kumbh Mela hone wala hai. How can we all think together about it from now itself, right? So there is a questionnaire that's been shared on the Kumbhathon WhatsApp group by me. If you have not already filled it, please take time and fill it up. It will be useful for us to engage in future conversations on what should the government be thinking about from our perspective, right? So what are we trying to achieve? We are trying to achieve a governance sandbox where these are actual statements from your submissions, right? So one startup says, there is tricky regulatory hurdles. It's better that I try to solve it in the market rather than try to solve with the government. But 30 million people are coming, and most of them will be relying on a government infrastructure rather than a private infrastructure. So this is the confidence that a startup innovator has on trying to work with the government. This can change. And what is the solution? The tourism department can ease the homestay permits, office space to room conversions, access to site services at Kumbh, and you can do piloting. It's a suggestion. It not necessarily be the only solution. But what is the intent is that the startup innovator is willing to kind of work with the government on something like this, or it could be something very different. But the problems and solutions, there are plethora here, but we need an enabling mechanism, and that's what should be the governance sandbox. Another innovator says, I've been working with BMC to pilot our first water project at Nariman Point, Mumbai. Plastic ban in public places, it's been pending for a long time. We can help government enforce these bans by providing an alternative, right? Just imagine if 30 million people want to consume 5 liters a day, how many plastic bottles are we talking about? And how much more stress we are going to put on river Godavari by trying to say we are trying to come take a holy dip, but we'll give back 5 water bottles a day, each one of us, and that's our gift back to you, right? So you need to think from ground zero and change the ground rules. A third is, there will be bad players trying to defraud the prospective visitors, devotees, how to minimize their impact. How many of you have gone to Triambakeshwar already? Okay, yesterday I tried to go, and like a typical Bangalorean or a Punekar, I opened my app, I picked up Uber, and I said, I need to go there. All the drivers picked up on Uber and said, Sir, hum Ola rate pe aayenge. I don't even know what Ola rate is, right? But it's apparently 4 times the Uber rate, right? So Uber is giving business to Ola unknowingly, right? So what is the weights and measures department doing in this city, right? First of all, autos, I haven't seen autos with meters around unless they have been taken away legally. So these are very, very enabling mechanisms. A rule of law should be attempted again if 30 million people should have less suffering than they are going to have with the current state of affairs. Okay, cancer screening. Another innovator amongst you told that though it's mandated, there is not enough funding or infrastructure. How could you look at making it possible? If 30 million people can be enabled to know their own cancer profile or them being at risk, is it a good thing for us to achieve or not? Right? This is another innovator. I'll come back to that. So strengthening governance, improving resource allocation, and leveraging technology are essential for effective solution. Problem is stated here, solution is available, but can we loop the decision makers also into the process? And that's what we hope to achieve over the next 2 years and see how this can be even more smoother process. Another innovator who works with the Ministry of Defense, they are lucky, but they understand that they could get into receivable cycle problem at any point of time, right? So when you work with the government, you should always be aware about how can you reduce the risks that you have and the exposure you have with the government, if not operationally, at least financially, right? So again, they understand that a possibility is that they could look at solving other market problems as a de-risking strategy. Okay? So finally, before I end and take questions, can you think like Kumbh, right? This is one of the startup I mentor. I've been on their advisory board for the last 8 years, and they have gone from strength to strength. This startup started working on preventable blindness in Bangalore. Today, they have a roadmap of working across the country. And as we speak, these are pictures from yesterday from Prayagraj, where they have made it easier for people to detect the eye-related problems. Triaging happens so easily because these have been printed. You have an easy way of escalating and say, looks like I'm only stopping at 4th line. Can you help me? I think I need to meet a optician, right? So how can you look at these innovative solutions? And you will find all kind of support. There's an auto driver who's willing to take it around behind his back and show around the city. Not just that, it can also be posted in the railway station, which of course will receive so many humongous crowd. So how can you look at platforms like this with local support, right? This organization is based in Bangalore, but they have a local partner with whom they are sharing this knowledge and saying that, hey, you know what, we'll handhold you. The entire premise of Nyonika has been that the problem space is too big. Nyonika as an organization can't solve it at pan-India level, but we'll go and identify with any player who is in the same space as us to think of what are the limiting resources and how can we try and help them get additional support there and thereby look at a national footprint of solving problems. And I always like the way whenever I meet the CEO and the founder, he says, sir, it doesn't matter, sir, who's taking the credit, as long as we are able to do early detection of eye problem and early care of eye problem, right? So he is able to get medical devices set up in different government hospitals. He's able to get so many glasses sent across to different on-ground players. So the social impact attitude and the intent can be played out in different roles rather than just saying that, oh, I can only do this much. The problem is so humongous. So my request to all of you is that we still are going to be around for a day. With every startup that you are talking, I at least want you to have this conversation that what can you give to other startups to achieve a common and better goal. The second is, what support do you need from other startups? So if tomorrow, if the organizers can arrange half an hour of just this goal of collaboration, right? Between them, will have a higher trust play. And with the government, we can also have a higher trust play if we get more and more data of telling that what are the limiting factors. And with this, I hope all of us will look at solving problems in a much more effective manner. I thank the organizers for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to engage with you. Happy to take any questions.
Hello, sir. I'm Nisha, founder of IDA Innovations. We in vitro diagnostics, portable devices for low resource settings as such. My question is, when we are talking about government and collaborating with government, executing pilots, or implementing solutions in government setups, so this takes some time. There is a lag time, and startup is like it's a race, time-bound race. It's like you have to reach particular goal, otherwise you're dead. Value of death is already there. So in that scenario, what suggestion would you like to give to startups, early stage startup, that exactly how to survive? Because their survival is very important.
Yes. So, my request is, kindly hold the mic. I mean, it's going to be a little conversation. My request is for you to identify the causes of potential death. Right? What are the different sources that are pushing you to death? So if you can reorganize your own operating environment to limit the effect of each of these factors to push you into death, then that itself is a refortifying of your ability to survive longer. Today we give undue importance to certain factors. It could be capital.
Customer, not knowing your customer.
Sorry, yeah.
Not knowing your problem or not knowing your customer, who is exactly your customer.
Correct.
And it's like fund crunch, not having a right team. That is one of the thing. So the top 3-4 factors are generally these.
Yeah.
Which are
So happy to talk to you with each one of them. The cost problem, you have to solve it by being generous on the equity side of it. Get co-founders rather than employees. Look at smartening your operating environment. Invest a lot on upskilling people who are willing to come and work with you rather than say that, "Oh, nahi aa raha hai, oh, nahi aayega." He'll not come at the price point you are willing to pay today. If he understands the problem you are solving and your abilities, he'll be willing to come and work with you for equity, provided he has sorted his own roti kapda makan. Till the time he's over that, he can't afford coming to you. So that's a huge privilege that for you to expect from a normal population. That privileged population is less than 4% in India or 3% in India. So we operate from a model wherein there are 61 million people whose total family income is about 20 lakhs in India. Total family income of 61 million people is about 20 lakhs per annum. They are the kind of people who can think of a startup, I'll go work without salary or less salary and all of it. There are 500 million people between 3 million, who earn between 3 lakh and 20 lakhs. They are still in roti kapda makan arena. So you'll be extremely lucky to find people in 61 million who have the exact skill set that you need and who has the right motivation for you to come and work with you. Right? So don't expect the miracle. Don't expect the 500 million people to make sacrifices for you. They are not in a position to make. But you need to figure out a way of how do you expand the operating pool. Right? So there are various ways in which you can look at it. Fund crunch is a reality. Startups have to be frugal. They can't afford any luxury that you have in the corporate world doing the same thing, right? So happy to get on to a chat with you and work out on all of these things, but first thing is to limit your own thing. The second related thing also happens on a factor of death being from the over-reliability on the government. And I was telling with a couple of startups I was chatting in the morning, telling that have a very thin interface with the government, where you work, if you can redo the whole government engagement model to be a very thin engagement at only at the level of getting permissions and maybe little funding, and then you raise supplemental funding, then even in case of delayed payments, you are less prone to death. An example in Akshay Patra, the government gives them only the dry ration and the permission to serve midday meal to the schools. Akshay Patra raises the funds required for cooking as well as for distributing about 20 lakh meals every day. So that way their model itself is like so intense, but they understand even if the government stops reducing some amount of dry ration, they still have a way of figuring it out. They have built that capability. Right? In terms of Nyonika has zero financial income or expenditure with the government. They have just said, we can come on to you from term to term, come with you with a specific problem. We want you to become a partner with us, to work with us. So multiple opportunities are available as long as you can figure out survival plans and take only as much risk as you can. So redo your business plan, redo your operating plan, and hopefully we'll be able to push the prospect of death or make it less painful during that process.
So if I can understand correctly, so your advice would be like rework or organize or plan for a startup should be such that they are self-reliant or they have plan B ready In fact, plan A should be ready and government should be the plan B kind of thing. It
Or
should be
revenue
only
from government should be plan B.
B, yeah.
Right? So that even if it gets delayed, you are not at a thing telling that I can't pay salary or I can't pay rent.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? I was telling somebody that you should be able to have profits without the government payments coming in. If you get the government payment, then you are double profitable, right? So your VCs you should only talk to VCs who understand this bit of risk.
Yes.
And not say that you are without government, where they are not able to appreciate without government profitability or viability. Right?
Many VCs, they don't even talk to you if you have just a government funding and all that. They are like, no, it's like.
There are other VCs, let's talk about them
That,
when we get on a call.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.